And we are live again. Thank you, everyone, for joining to another session for US Selling Together in US. This is your host, Alex Ponic, or as they would say, Alexander Paunic in Serbia. But even more importantly, this is my awesome business partner and our guest, Nevena Sofranić.
Hi everyone.
Nevena Sofranić from the Recrooit. And again, we super appreciate your time finding, what's going to be probably like 50 minutes to an hour, joining us at this series where we are learning how to sell in the United States. I'm going to bring up the slides here in a second, but basically we are here at the event number 4, where, we did the demonstration with the live US client. This was a couple months ago. And now we want to learn, how do we provide feedback? How do we, follow up with the client? And how do we really get to the revenue? Because that's what we are doing here. Again, the agenda for today, we'll just quickly go over the event series. I understand that we do have some new people here. They're like, what is going on here? The event number 4, maybe I missed some. We have some people there joining us again. We want to refresh your memory what we did so far. But really important thing, again, we did a demo with Ricardo Martinez, who is the Chief Strategy Officer at Digital Era from Miami. Nev did a fantastic job, but with every demo, we can learn something. We can always get better. We should have that mindset. But then we're going to touch on some follow-up tactics, right? And I understand in our audience that we have a lot of SaaS companies, IT companies, we have services companies. We are all in the same boat. I'm in the same boat like you are. Nev is the person that's looking at on this video is in the same boat where you're following up with a client. Maybe you're successful, maybe they're not responding. We're going to go over some of these tactics. I think it's going to be a great session, and that's why we have this Q&A. Again, quick housekeeping. We're going to try to keep this under 60 minutes, but most importantly, please ask questions throughout the demonstration, throughout this event, because we want live engagement. This is going to be a great chance to ask, hey, I have a client in US that haven't responded in 2 or 3 weeks. We send them emails, we send them information. What do I do? Maybe you have a great success story to share. They responded to me right away. We definitely want you to share some of your knowledge, but also provide questions. And if you have some concerns, how to close the deals currently in US, we are here to help. Having said that, again, here's the event series. When we started the 23, we decided to have 4 events, 1 a quarter. And we started with Nev, and she's going to explain her bio here in a second, and Recrooit. But basically, we wanted to go and make sure that Nev and Recrooit, her company, have sales essentials. You need to have your elevator pitch. You need to have your slide deck. You need to have some kind of demo environment before you go and start selling to the US clients. Number 2, this was in the second quarter. Once we had those tools, we actually started preparing for the demo. We knew that there's going to be a live US customer, potential client. It is a potential client for Nev, but we wanted to be prepared for that demo. We wanted to look at the different features that the Recrooit has, and then translate those features into the benefits and the outcome for the client. Very important part was that demo prep, right? If you're going to sell to the clients, whether it's in Serbia, region, especially in the US, you want to prepare. You want to do a little role play or a lot of role play. You want to envision different scenarios. What are the questions that your client can ask? You want to be ready. I believe Nev did a great job on that one, and I think that really prepared us for what was the next step, which was a live demo. Again, we had Ricardo Martinez. There's a video on YouTube. If you didn't catch it, you can go back, where we didn't even prepare. We wanted to make it as real live as possible, where Nev did a fantastic job positioning Recrooit with a potential client. Sure, he's our, on the cybersecurity side, he's our strategic partner, but they have a genuine interest in Recrooit, and I was going to tell you what they do here in a second. But again, here we are. Today, we are doing the demo follow-up, right? We did all this prep, we did the demo, but today we have to figure out what is the best way to follow up on that demo. What is the best way to optimize our position to get to that revenue and to close the deal. Great. So quickly, my bio. Some people that have been watching this series, they're probably tired of this slide. I'm not going to spend. I'm going to try to spend less than 60 seconds here because I really want to give Nev a chance to reintroduce himself in the bio. But then, Alex Sofranić, and I was born in USAID. I also lived in the United States for 30 plus years, and I lived. Currently, I'm living in Miami, Florida, but I'm currently in Belgrade, Serbia, and I'm enjoying every moment of it, being in the festive mode here. I'm a co-founder of Precog Security, so cybersecurity is my main business, but I'm also helping Serbian companies through a group called Serbian Entrepreneurs, where we're helping Serbian startups and SaaS companies and software companies with a product position themselves in Miami. I work very closely with our New York chapter in Toronto. But then also, I did found with Sam Busek, my partner, a company in Arizona, where we are doing some consultancy beyond that for companies that want to position their product and services in the United States. More importantly, I wanted to give a chance to Nev to reintroduce herself, to reintroduce Recrooit, and tell us a little bit about the exercise in 23 and what was helpful.
All right. Thank you for the intro. Yeah, I'm really happy to wrap this year up, right? So my name is Nev. I'm the founder of Recrooit. Recrooit is a platform where your companies can hire through community referrals. So we've started building this thing in 2001, and currently we just launched our second version. So we're quite early with this new version, and we're onboarding our companies. Recrooit is a marketplace where anyone watching this video can refer their friends and colleagues to advertise jobs and earn rewards that way. So that's pretty much about Recrooit. As for the series was definitely helpful. There is a lot of, I would say that the biggest value comes from the fact that some things that we talked about throughout the series were not that obvious, especially about selling in the US market. I would say that you're gonna probably say more about it later on, but just some things about the language barrier that were not that obvious and that are really important, because those small things make a lot of difference. Was just having an insight into that was very helpful. At the same time, I've learned that having notes is not a bad thing. So I have my notes here. I really appreciated. There is a lot of things that happened in behind the scenes, maybe not during lives, but when we were preparing sessions, that's where I've learned a lot. And just having your fresh perspective on things and just the feedback was tremendously helpful, because I wasn't working in the dark. I was actually getting feedback on what I'm doing. And I finally know if I'm doing something right or not. And I believe this is an important trait for any founder, to be coachable and to be open to feedback on how they're doing things. So I would say that this was the biggest value I've seen, just getting feedback on what I've done so far.
Well, glad to hear that. And I think that's an important feedback that we're going to ask our audience. We would love to continue this series, Selling Together, Selling in US in 24. And now we're going to touch on some of these things that Nev actually mentioned. But glad that you liked it, Nev. Let's continue, with good thoughts, good vibes, and partnership. I think you got a really cool thing with Recrooit. And who knows, some of the maybe members of the audience, when we come up with the 2024 series, maybe we'll work together with somebody else from the audience. So keep your attention to this series, and provide us feedback, and we'll let you know how we can maybe reintroduce this kind of series, and maybe with other similar events in 24. Okay, so what did we learn from the demo? Let's always start with the positives. There's always room for improvement. But there's also some of the positives, some of the things that we did well, what Nev did well. And when you find, my advice is to my team on the cybersecurity side, to Nev, to your audience, when you're doing something well, as we say in US, or that's a blackjack term, double down, make it even more, right? And what you're not doing well, you want to eliminate it, or you want to delegate it, and you want to fix it. But let's start with positives. I'll give some of my perspectives on what I found that there were really good things with the Recrooit and what Nev did with the presentation. And then we definitely want to hear, I think one of the best things that you can do, and I think Nev's going to do a really good job here, you want to be providing feedback to you. You want to be ready to self-assess and to receive feedback. A lot of times, I'm part of that group too. We can get a little bit defensive when people provide us feedback. You should be very open-minded, especially if it comes from a person that means well to you. You have to be open-minded, and you have to identify some of those areas that you can improve upon. But right now, let's concentrate on the positives. Number one, I think Nev had the MVP, and I think it's even, I would call it mature minimum viable product. For you that are building a product, it's never going to be perfect. But when you're positioning it, and even with the U.S. market, make sure that you do have some kind of minimum viable product, but it doesn't have to be perfect. And you can be frank with your customers. I think, Nev, we did a really good job when we talked to the real life potential client. We did say, hey, you're a startup, right? But we position it in such a way that it's a cool thing. It's a dynamic product. There's a lot of cool things happening down the roadmap. So that's definitely number one. It was an MVP, super positive that we had an MVP to position. I believe that Nev did a really good job, again, listening and taking notes and building sales tools. I do meet companies, sometimes from Serbia, sometimes from region. They're trying to go to the US without sales tools, right? They do maybe have a good pitch, but they don't have a demo environment. They do not have a general slide deck. You need some of those tools. You need to nail down, at the very least, your elevator pitch. You need to have demo slide deck, and you need to have some kind of demo environment. We saw during the demo that Ricardo, who is our potential client, did ask, after Nev did a good job going over the general overview of Recrooit, well, let me see how it works. She had a live demo environment, and she showed him how this could work in the real life. That was a really good job. Another thing that I feel that Nev did really well was asking questions. And it wasn't just any questions. She asked a lot of open-ended questions about the pain points, about some of the current recruitment process that Digital Era and Ricardo have. And then she did go a step further. She understood the industry that Ricardo and the potential client Digital Era is in, which was cybersecurity industry. I think that's very important too. Yes, you do have a product, but you got to start making it niche, focused. What is that cybersecurity? What is that industry that you're trying to target? And it might be sometimes, multiple industries, but be specific. So having said that, I jumped the gun too far, but let's stay here with the positives here. We would like to hear in the audience for sure from Nev. What did you find that was positive, and would you align with some of these bullets here?
Yeah, well, thank you. I think I was way more harsh than you. I would say yes and no. And I just wanted to quickly go back to the previous slide and just encourage anyone that's building a startup in Serbia to eventually, if they have an opportunity to join this program, it's gonna be so beneficial. I know for a fact a lot of companies and a lot of investors are actually watching this.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I wanted to mention about the previous slide. As for this one, I did write down some positives that I had about the demo. Though my list of room for improvement is quite longer. I would say that,
and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. You have to be yourself, self-critical. We'll get to that in a second. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So I would say that I agree with you that I was asking questions about their experience which helped me like learn better what is it that what's the end goal they want to achieve on Recrooit. Like it's not always that companies just want to make a hire on Recrooit. Some of them just want to tap into the talent market and see how big it is and eventually make a hire, obviously. Some companies really care about the number of candidates that are going to reach on Recrooit and so on. So to prospect your clients, I would say that asking questions and learning about what their end goal is really important. So I would say I did a good job there. Rolling out of that one, also, I would say that I was quite successful in prospecting after asking the questions. So I would say that at some point, like after asking a couple of questions, I figured, yeah, this could work and we could actually provide value to this company. Also, what I think I did good, apart from asking questions, is not telling everything in advance. Just like when you pitch, and founders often do this, we tell everything about our platform and we don't leave any room for them to ask questions. So I think I did a good job with not talking that much about the community on Recrooit, so I could leave him some room to ask me something about Recrooit. Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to add, I totally agree with those. So I want to add two other big things. And I feel like we could have just a whole session on English. I would say your English is better than solid. Us being native Serbian speakers, our audience being native Serbian speakers, we have to understand, we have to work hard on our English, right? Serbian and English are very different languages, right? And I do ask and implore our audience to really actively work on it. The easiest thing, and I mentioned it a few times, if you're a startup, if you're an IT company, you can introduce the English day. One day, everybody in the office could speak English. And I know it's a little challenging and there's going to be a little pushback, but we all have to work actively on English. I still work on my English, right? I do public speaking engagements. I do even have a mentor for that, but we all have to really take a big note on English. And I think, Nev, your English is fantastic, right? Keep working on it. But if it wasn't at that level, I think you would put yourself in a really, really top position. I've seen companies with a great product, with great engineering, with tremendous offer, just not putting themselves in the best position because their English is lacking, right? And they're a little bit nonchalant about that. Yeah, it's easy, a little bit of like, Serbian nonchalance. It's gonna be easy. Don't worry about that. But yeah, you have to worry about that. It's a big part of it. And I can tell you with American buyers, potential buyers and clients, they will never tell you, if your English is lacking, because that's considered rude and borderline racist in some moment. So don't expect your American potential client that's going to correct you in English. What they're going to do, if they see that your English is lacking, they will just turn other way and go to another competitor, right? So having a solid English is incredibly important. I think, Nev, you have great English, just keep working on it. Another big thing that I want you to say as far as the positives, as the audience is listening, like that Nav just gave herself some, what we call a pat on the back and congrats on this and doing a good job. She actually listened to her demo. And this is very hard for all of us. It's nerve-wracking when we listen to our recordings. I listen to my recording now. I was still like, oh my God, I should have said this better. But that's a good thing. You want to keep improving. So if you want to improve your sales skills, record your demos, record your conversation with the client, especially if you're doing it in English, and then listen back. Not easy, but I can tell you, I work for some of the biggest US companies. Their sales department treat this very seriously. People that have been in sales for 10, 20, 30 years, like incredible salespeople, they still record themselves and they still want to improve. Okay, so Nav, that's another great thing. You were not shy to listen to the recording and see where, obviously in this case, what were the positives. But now we're going to get into, where we can improve. Anything else you want to add regarding the positives?
Nope, that's pretty much it.
Okay. All right. Room for improvement. We don't want to call it negatives. It's always room for improvement. Okay. So even though you did ask some good open-ended questions, even though we identified that the prospect is in the cybersecurity industry, we need to be, I'm starting with me, with my team on the cybersecurity side. I'm asking Nev with the Recrooit, and I'm asking our audience that's listening, get obsessed with benefits and outcome for buying persona role. Meaning you have to understand who is really buying, whose life are you going to make easier at that organization. Is that a VP of engineering? Is it a VP of operation? Is it HR? Is it a CEO? And then you have to get obsessed with benefits and outcome. Don't stay with features, but understand if you have a feature in your product, how does that relate into the benefit and outcome of the buying persona? A few days ago, I was listening to Jeff Bezos. He's obviously the Amazon founder and obviously doing all kinds of amazing things. You can have any kind of opinion on him, but when it comes to business and being obsessed with the customer success, he is probably one of the best ever. And during that interview or podcast, he said, one thing that separates Amazon, and Amazon, obviously, it's a big thing in Serbia. It's going to get probably even bigger when there's Amazon Prime introduced in Serbia. And I can attest, being a user, that the customer service is amazing, right? I always get packages on time, and it's just ridiculous sometimes in a big country like US to get a package within a day. Sometimes, we're talking like 4 different time zones. But Jeff Bezos literally used that word. He said, we are obsessed. We're obsessed with the customer experience. And that's not just a word because it sounds good. They have literal departments that are trying to nail down that customer experience. And right now, they came down to just one click. You can just do one click, or even with a voice, with one command, you can order a refrigerator that's going to come to your door. That's what we all need to do. Whether you're doing the services, whether you're doing a SaaS product, whether it's a Recrooit, Nev, we have to get even more obsessed understanding the pain points of Ricardo, right? And translate how Recrooit is going to provide value, benefits, and outcome for his role. Okay? So that's that second point. Really understand those pain points. What is the friction? And in this case, Nev, we have to go even beyond Ricardo, and we have to foresee what are all those pain points when it comes to recruitment in the cybersecurity space. We are getting really good from the high level, and we are getting into the detail. We know it's hard to find qualified labor, especially in cybersecurity. We know that engineering is hard, but we also have to get a little bit more understanding what are the pain points. Maybe, perhaps, we could have asked, tell us about the previous experience. What worked, what didn't? I'm asking everybody here on a call, if you don't know what to ask a customer, I don't care what kind of industry you are. I don't care if you're services, SaaS. I don't care if you're enterprise. I don't care if you're a VP of sales at Saga. I don't care if you're just a sales rep at the new startup. You can always ask your customer, and this is a fair US customer. It's a very fair question without going into the confidentials. Tell us about your previous experience with a similar vendor. What worked, what didn't? And they'll tell you. Most of the time, they'll tell you. They're going to name the vendor, right, because it's confidential. But they will say, well, we use this SaaS company for recruitment, and a couple of things that were good, but here is a big pain point for us. They will tell you what those pain points are, okay? And then one thing, Nev, that we identified, and anybody who is listening to that recording with Ricardo, I believe we should have had a stronger call to action. And this is something that we all can do better. I was actually on a call with a few other companies from Serbia pitching to potential US client. Great product, demo is going great, everything is going fine, but then we're coming towards the end. And it gets a little messy, not as tight, not a strong call to action. you have to have a strong call to action. You have to have that one slide. You have to, when it comes down, you know there's only 5 more minutes left to the call. You have to start transitioning into that call to action. Make sure you answer all the questions during the call, but then have a plan, because you're trying to close this deal. You're trying to get this person to either buy the product right there and then, or at the very least to maybe get into some kind of free trial. But it should be a very clean, very concise, very direct call to action. What are the next steps? Okay, great. We like your SaaS product. Okay, Recrooit seems really cool. Try to imagine they're asking you, what are the next steps? Okay, so that's something that we could have done probably a little bit better. Obviously, I was on the call, but Nev was leading the call. So let's get really good at stronger call to action. And then let's have an option for the product trial. Some customers might say, you know what, we do need this right there and then. We need it. Sometimes Americans say, we need it yesterday. Where do we sign up? That's amazing when we hear that. But it's not going to be always where they sign up right there on a demo call. You will have to follow up, or at the very least, try to offer them a product trial. And that's something that we obviously are working on. And this is going to be when we look at the tactics. How do we want to follow up? We definitely want to have that option for the trial. Make sure you do have some kind of trial option. The point, especially when you have a product, is you want them to touch and feel and play with your product. If you're just talking about the product, if you're just explaining, even if you have the prettiest slides, if they're not touching it, if they're not playing with it, if they're not really feeling it, how it feels in their environment, it's much tougher sell. You can be the greatest salesperson, but nothing can exchange their own experience. So let me pause there. And obviously, we are asking the audience if you have any questions. This is a good time. We're still going to have a few slides. If you have some questions, you're thinking what kind of question you can ask. But Nev, would you add anything else to this?
Yes. I do agree. I mean, some of the we have a couple of same points. As for the pain points, I think I did ask them some peculiarities around their practices, and that actually gave me an entrance, like, because he mentioned referrals himself, and I expected this because I've been working in cyber recruitment previously, cybersecurity recruitment, so I knew referrals were their biggest source of hire. So I would say I actually understood pain points, but maybe I didn't dig enough into them. So I would say there was a lot of improvement there. But I would also mention something you didn't, and that is that background, lighting, and camera actually do play a role. And I've noticed this since when I first watched the video after we finished the demo. I just wanted to see like how I did, right? And I've noticed this from the start. Like, I should probably think about lighting and background and the camera I'm using. This small things actually make a difference. I had some, I would say, challenges following the script and the presentation. And at some point, I even shared the wrong screen when I was talking. So if you want to do this like with a presentation and the demo environment, I would say practice a lot. So so you don't make these mistakes, because you could see at Ricardo's face on the video that he's confused because I'm talking about something that it's not showing on the screen at all. I wish I started asking him more questions from the start, and I would definitely recommend this to anyone. Just to make sure from the start you know what you're gonna pitch, because products Recrooit is getting big, right? It can be used in different ways and so on. So you just want to make sure that your value proposition aligns with their goals. So I would say ask more questions in the beginning. And I also like during the step, there's 3 steps to posting a job on Recrooit. You set the job description, then you set the bounty, and then you share your job across social media. I totally skipped the third step, and I kind of skipped through the second step, which is really important, which is what makes us different from job boards and recruiting agencies and so on. So I wish I talked about bounty more. And then when you said stronger call to action, I actually wrote down in my notes that as the pricing page. I was kind of shy to talk about the pricing, and actually I was nervous to ask for money. Like I saw it like in my face that I wanted him. I just wanted to say, like, why don't you try freemium before I ask you for the money? So I would say that you need to become comfortable with asking for money for your product, because that's why you built it, and the idea is to monetize actually. So I kind of rushed through that. I wish I had a more, I would say, a more comprehensive call to action, as you said, and so on. So, and additionally, next steps were kind of also rushed through. I mentioned that I'm going to send him a presentation, and he asked me about the demo environment, and I got kind of confused because it's a matter of language barrier and also like different practices in product. Recrooit doesn't have a demo environment companies can try out, but it does have a freemium. So I could have just created an account for him and sent him as I did later on. So yeah.
Wow, that's a lot to unpack. I love it.
Yeah.
Nev has a lot of notes, and that's exactly what we want to do. So a couple of things. We do have a question coming up, and let's address the question, but I want to come back to some of the things that you said. And it's coming from Ivana. Hi, Ivana. A very good question, actually, asking how can I ask for the feedback from the real clients on my demo presentation so that I can keep improving for the next one? It's a little tricky, right? Because great question, Ivana, because you do not want to sound like a beginner. You do not want to sound like an amateur, but then you still are looking for that feedback, because feedback can be gold. Yeah, maybe you didn't get a revenue, but feedback can be almost like revenue because it can help you get to that next yes, to the next sale. So even maybe the best thing is not just saying like, well, I'm doing these demos for the first time and I would like for you to give me feedback. That's probably not the way I would ask it. But I would ask a potential client, hey, let me know what did you like about the demo and what did you wish that you could have seen, right? Any seasoned professional would ask that. I would have no problem being for 20 years after my demo to ask potentially even somebody that I don't know, let me know what did you like during our cybersecurity demo, and what did you wish so you could have seen. When you package it, when you wrap it up like that, you might get some feedback that you're also looking for. Maybe they're going to say like, well, to Nev's point here, I didn't see the good transition from that slide. I got really confused here. They might even say like, well, you were a little bit nervous at the beginning. I didn't catch your product name fully, or where exactly are you from. So if you position the question, what did you like about our demo, and where do you feel like we could have where do you feel you could have seen more, or what should we have covered that we haven't covered, they will probably give you a lot of that feedback that you're looking for. But I wouldn't ask them, hey, give me the feedback on our demo, because that would sound a little bit that you're a beginner, and it would put you in maybe a little bit awkward position where they're like, well, do we really want to buy through these people? So hopefully, even that answers your question. Again, ask them freely. We did a demo. Let us know what you liked about the demo, and what do you wish that we covered, and maybe we can cover on the next time. Okay, hopefully that helps. But again, Nev, you touched on a couple of things, so I don't want to forget before we go into the next slide. I
also have a question. Yes,
go ahead.
Okay, so regarding the question Ivana asked, like, would you say please, that also there is also a difference between there is a cultural difference between this approach, like, because in Serbia you would expect some kind of a humble approach when and asking for feedback is maybe like even positioning you, like it helps you create a stronger relationship locally. And then would you say that there is a difference in the US?
Yeah, there is a little bit of a difference. People like to buy from competent people, right? And yes, people at the end of the day buy from the people, but there's also a risk, right? If you do sound that you are not sure in yourself, sure in your product, that you don't have confidence, that can backfire. You might get an amazing feedback, but I'm always thinking like, can I get a great feedback and still close the deal? That's why I'll be very comfortable asking any of my clients or any kind of potential clients, hey, we did a demo. What did you like during the demo? And is there something that we didn't cover that you wish that you would have seen? That's a very fair question. I've seen seasoned professional ask that. But again, you understand your local market much better in Serbia than I do. But I think if you position it like that, it opens up. It's a great open-ended question. And you might hear some really good things that can help you improve, but then they can also help you close the deal, because they could say like, well, the transitioning towards the free trial, we didn't know you had a freemium. I wish you would have really showed us that. So that's giving you like, wow, I have to make sure that I introduce the freemium because people want a free trial. And now I have something to go after, right, in the follow-up tactic that we're going to show here in a second. So you kind of, as we say in US, you're killing two birds with one stone. Yeah. Is that fair, Nev?
Yeah, that sounds
okay. Hopefully, correct. Even if that doesn't answer the question, feel free to send a follow-up. That's a great question. Another thing I want to mention before we go to the follow-up tactics, you mentioned so a couple of things that I think it's really important. One is the background. It's super important, and we all been there where we are like not sure of the background. You have to try to log in earlier. Try to make sure that you have a clean background. If you don't, I don't have. You guys can see I don't have the cleanest background now. It's fairly clean, but I blurred it. At the very least, you can blur it, and I'm glad I did it because, guys, at least please blur it. I cannot tell you how many times I've been on the call with some of the Serbian companies, and I'm like, some of the, I don't know if it's a cultural thing, but sometimes you can just see people didn't even consider what's in the background, right? I'm not sure that somebody wants to see your grandma's curtains, right? I mean, for me, curtains doesn't really speak necessarily IT, but if you guys look at my background, that's neutral, nothing too fancy, nothing too crazy. But I'm looking at Nev's background. It's very clean. It's very elegant, right? It's very warm. It's very inviting to speak to this person. So if I would have to pick between my kind of blurry, neutral background and Nev's, and I would definitely pick Nev's. So very important thing that you mentioned there, Nev. And then another one is the freemium. You said you didn't understand that you could actually just position freemium. That's that thing. Have it ready at the very least. And again, you mentioned, so two things I want to refer to. Definitely have that freemium, but don't go for the freemium. Go for the close. In US, they say, what's the worst that can happen, right? I'll teach you guys right now. And if you're having notes at home, just write this down. This was my first sales job. Actually, it was at the financial institution. I was just right out of college, and I had a great mentor, Steve. And he said, Alex, do you like, one thing that you can always do, and it's very neutral and it's not aggressive, you can always say towards the end of the presentation, can I make a suggestion? 99% out of 100 times, person is going to say, sure. And then you can say, I would go for the close because you have that standard package. Here is what most of our customers are going. I would suggest, Ricardo, that you go with this package, paid one. Keep premium as an option B. But the number one, hey, this is what's preferred by our customers, and I strongly believe this is going to give you a lot of value, and it will help you find that hire that you need so much on the cybersecurity side. So ask, can I make a suggestion? Suggest the revenue, the profitable option. But then if they say, well, we're not ready yet, we need to think, okay, no problem. I'll make another suggestion. Can you, we do have a freemium model, at least try it out. Okay. They will feel like, I turned them down, but then, okay, I should do the freemium. So it's still a lot of value if they're doing the freemium. But again, go for the profitable one, go for the revenue. You have to have a mindset that you're providing them a lot of value, right? they should be thanking you. You have to have a mindset, hey, they should be thanking me. I worked so hard to build this amazing platform to make their life easier, right? I do obviously have a paying plan, but this is going to provide a lot of value to Ricardo or to my clients. And that's why I'm positioning this option and this package. So you have to have that mindset that you poured your blood, sweat, and tears into your product so you can make their lives easier, so you can remove that pain point for them, and you can provide a lot of value and great outcome for your buying persona for your client.
Yeah, I wish I was more confident when I asked, when I suggested, and just those little syntax you use, actually, can I suggest something, and things like that are actually what was most valuable throughout these sessions. So I did suggest to Ricardo that he uses Plus, but I was very shy about it. So I do agree with you that it's a matter of mindset, and that you probably. So how do we build that mindset?
Confidence. I go back to your first line of code. And why did you build Recrooit? You build Recrooit to make people's life easier when it comes to recruitment. You understand that those hiring cycles, position filling cycles can be very long, can be very expensive. You're providing amazing value. So you do have to have that mindset that you're providing something of value, and you have to be confident to ask for money. Americans in general, they have no problem you asking for money if you're providing something of value. It's understood. It's understood, right? But you do have to show them how you're going to make their life easier. How you're going to save me time, resources, and how you're going to, in some cases, in our cases in cybersecurity, manage our risk. But at the end of the day, you're saving somebody time and resources and money.
Yeah. Okay. I've been asking more questions than the community, so I'd love to invite them again to ask some questions. Yeah.
It's a virtual workshop, and I like it. Hopefully the audience likes it. They're going to have a chance to give us a feedback. But I'm sure that people are kind of thinking and taking notes. Listen, we are all in the same boat. There is no salesperson. I don't care how seasoned, how amazing salesperson. We are all in this boat. We are all trying to figure out, how do we provide value? How do we connect the dots? I think you said it really nicely. The value proposition of your product with their need, right? And that's when it comes to call to action. You bring it all in, right? Hey, Ricardo, you said you had this pain point. We do have this solution that's going to fix your pain point. And that's why we feel, if I can make a suggestion, you should try this product, because we had success with our current clients. This is where they find most of the value. But it all has to be connected, right? The pain point, to your point, pun intended, the pain point of a client has to be aligned with your value proposition, whether it's your service or whether it's your product. And then once that's aligned, then you move into the call to action, and you can say with a lot of confidence, can I make a suggestion? Here is a product, or in services, here is our process that will get you to that software that's going to automate and that's going to save you time and resources and whatever you need to do to get to that point. Okay?
All right. Yeah, that sounds good.
Excellent. We'll get back to these slides, because we want to look at the follow-up action tactic. But little break here from a movie. I was actually watching this movie in the States. I was in New York at that time. This is a movie about Bernard Tapie. It's actually a French movie, but I took some screenshots, and they will help us understand a little bit about that sales tactic. But anyways, just a quick thing about Bernard Tapie, very controversial figure in France. You can find all kinds of things on Wikipedia. But I was very intrigued by this little sales innuendo that they had during this series, this mini series. I think it was on Netflix. And basically, just to kind of set the stage here and to give some context to the viewers, right? We were talking about how best thing for selling the product, and in services, but especially when you're selling the product, you do want your client to touch that product, to feel it. You need to you cannot assume like, well, I did a great presentation and I had great slide decks. They're probably going to use the product. It's not enough a lot of times, right? So what do we have here? We have Bernard Tapie, and he's actually going to appear on the next slide, but he is actually the owner of the electronic store in Paris, summer, I believe it was like early 70s, when the TVs just got introduced with remote controls. I'm a little bit older, so I remember the times when the TVs, in order to change the channel, you had to go to the TV, to the actual TV and change the channel, right? Or to turn up the volume, or turn down the volume, or turn up the TV. You get up from the sofa or the armchair and you go to the TV and turn it up. So early 70s, the remotes start happening, and you're thinking, well, everybody's just going to buy TVs through the remote, right? You're just assuming. Not that easy. So there's this scene. This is a sales guy. He's not doing a really good job, but he's trying to explain to the customer on the left, well, you know, there's a TV, there's a remote. You don't have to get up and change the channel on the TV. You see how you can change it. The problem with this, the guy on the right, he is the sales rep. He's changing the channel. So this is a novelty. You have to understand. This is a remote control. The guy on the left, he has no idea what a remote control is, even though it seems so obvious. If you're not giving the customer a chance to actually touch that remote, it's going to be hard to sell. Okay, so the scene goes where this sales rep on the right, he's struggling. He's trying to sell this TV with the remote. The customer, on the potential client on the left, he's not buying it. Okay, so only explain the product to customer, it's not good enough. A lot of times it's going to result in no sale. Let's get to the next step. So the guy on the left, that's Bernard Tapie. You can think whatever you want about the guy, but he's a great sales guy. So now he's taking over. He sees his sales rep trying to sell it, not being successful. He passes by, is like, this is not good. I have to step in, and I want to sell, but educate my sales rep how to do it. So he went over the benefits and outcomes quickly. He said at the fingertip, you can find all the French channels, right? So he's explaining what are the benefits of the remote, but he does not stop there. He says, look, try it yourself. So he's making sure that not convinced customer, potential client on the right, he's like, he wants to make sure. He actually said a few times, try it. Just give it a shot. And that's what happens, right? So he said, please take it. Just press this button, right? And the customer, potential client, actually starts changing the channels. And he's like, this is great. And then he bought a TV. The point is, your best chance to close a deal, you have to make sure that a potential client is playing with your product. In a Recrooit case, now we want to make sure that's our next step. We want to make sure that Ricardo tries it. If it's premium, that's okay. But at least he tries it. He's playing with it. Maybe he comes up with some questions. Maybe he gives you some good idea. But he needs to see the brilliance and potential of your product. Same thing with other, we have in audience other SaaS company founders, startup founders. There's companies with services, right? You have to figure out what is the best way for me to position my product beyond just talking about it, so the customer can kind of feel it and see how we can add value. If you're a services company, maybe you can find a little project for them. Find the tiniest project that you're not going to spend arm and leg a lot of time, but show them what your team can do. Show them how good a process you are. Show them what kind of potential your engineers have before you get that big product. If you're a SaaS company, absolutely do not finish the demo until you get at least for them to log in and try the freemium. Or at the very best, as we said, can I make a suggestion? Position the plan, the paying plan, and the one that's going to be profitable for you and provide a lot of value for your clients. Any comment, Nev? Does this make sense? It's kind of crazy for your generation to think like there was no remotes and then you had to sell a remote.
I'm 34. I remember the TVs before remotes. Yeah. So yeah, I agree with what you said, especially on getting your customers to try out what you're doing.
Absolutely. And we all have to do a better job at it. I catch myself in our team sometimes like we got to do a better job so we all can improve on that. Okay, follow-up tactics. I'm pretty sure we're going to have some questions here. I always have questions for other successful people. Hey, what works for you? We can always learn and improve. So first one, Nev, we already did that, right? Listen to the presentation or go over the notes. If you're just following up blindly and like, yeah, I think this is what happened during the demo, I'll just follow, hey, I'm following up on a demo. Please make sure you go over the notes. Why? Because you have to dig in something that they asked you or a pain point, or maybe they had a very specific question. If you have a chance to record your call, even better. If not, go over the notes. Talk to your teammate that was there during the demo. Hey, do you remember exactly, did they ask this or did they ask that? Make sure you have 2-3 bullets, something that they asked, comment that they make. So when you're following up, it makes sense. It's tied to that previous demo. Don't just follow up for the sake of follow-up. I'm just following up on that demo we did. Are you ready to buy? You know, you're not going to be very successful. Again, you want to highlight that customer pain. They had to tell you something. If you did a good job, if you ask questions, they had to give you something. So we are hoping that you're asking those open-ended questions. Hey, what's giving you the problems right now in your operational excellence, or in automation, in your HR, whatever you're doing? In this case, for Recrooit, we have to go back to the notes and like, what is the biggest pain point, and circle back around that so we can give our potential client Ricardo a value prop that's aligned with his pain point. And again, we want to circle back around those questions and make sure that we are all aligned with the notes. But then it has to be a very easy follow call to action, right? You're following up, but then right now, Nev, we can obviously circle back around some of those things that Ricardo had as a pain point, but then we can follow up with a very nice and easy, clean link. Hey, here's the, we can suggest the freemium, or maybe potentially we can suggest a paying option, and we can strategize around that. But we have to have a very clean call to action. Where do they go next? Hey, here's how we're addressing your pain, and this is the next step for you. Okay. Let me see. We have another slide regarding follow-up tactics, and I would love to see if audience has any questions. But Nev, anything to add to these first 4? Because we have a few more.
Yeah, I would encourage everyone to ask their customers to record the demo, because that really helps get better. And also, there are a lot of AI tools at the moment. They're gonna take notes for you. So I would encourage you to use some of them. Because it's gonna summarize what you talked about, and it's probably at some points it's even gonna figure out something that you maybe missed. So yeah, those are my 2 tips.
Absolutely. Okay, great. We have a question from Dunja Ilic. Okay, so Dunja Ilic from Positive Tech, amazing company. They're doing awesome things on the services side, and they have a very interesting product coming up. But Dunja is a great biz dev for Positive Tech. But she's asking, how do you communicate with the client when it's not possible to implement the change they suggested for the platform at that moment without making them lose interest or feel disrespected? Okay, that's a great question. So to summarize, client is asking for specific feature or value that your current platform or product or maybe service is not offering. How do you communicate that without them losing interest? No, you don't have it, we'll just go somewhere else. Okay, Nav, what do you think? Do you want to take a stab? Or I have an idea, but I wanted to see if you wanted to. I would say, Nev, if the question was for you, for example, if something Recrooit didn't have currently, we didn't have that, but it's gonna happen. Like maybe people are wishing for some feature.
Like don't as like there are a lot of jokes about sales and product people because sales tends to overpromise what product can actually deliver. So I would say that really think about what they're asking you and actually dig into why do they need that before maybe answering the questions. So I would go down that road before.
I like that.
Deciding. Yeah.
if you feel like, oh my God, let's go, like I'm stumped, where do I go from here? You can always ask, that's a great question. Is that an issue for you? Why is that important to you, right? It's going to help you buy some time, and you're going to dig in a little bit. But it comes down to, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and not just that, maybe sometimes it's something really simple that you can do manually, and you really want to keep your customers happy. So if that's what it takes, I would, as a founder, I would do it manually if it's not something I can deliver through a product at the moment.
And absolutely, I like that. And if you're a startup, you have to look at this. This could be your advantage. If it's a big company positioning a product and they're asking for a feature, a salesperson, the best thing salesperson can say, like, well, I'll check back on that, or, we do not have it. But if you're a startup, here's your chance to show why it could be a great thing to work with a startup. You can say, well, this is something very interesting. And especially if it's true, like this was brought up a few times before, we can potentially put it on a roadmap and we can communicate back with you. For me, if I'm buying from a startup, sure, I'm cautious because they're small, but the advantage is, okay, wow, you could potentially influence the roadmap, and you do have a chance to, be very close to the DevOps team. I like to call it DevSecOps. Hopefully they have a security person there too. But you can position it where, hey, it's on a roadmap, right? And we heard this a few times, and we want to work on it. And especially, obviously, it has to be true, but then you can follow up, whether it's a 6, 12, 18 months down the road. But being honest, being forefront is very important, right? And you have to set the stage. If you're going to deliver something, it's really something on a roadmap that you follow up and you deliver it. But to your point, Nev, and to really good question, you have to ask an open question, why is this important to you? Perhaps when they answer that, you're going to uncover that you actually do have a feature that maybe can maybe answer that concern. But then again, you can see if it's a potential feature that you can add to the roadmap down the road. Again, asking a question to the question, that could be a good tactic, especially if it's sincere and open-ended. Not an easy one to answer, right? I'm not saying 10 out of 10 that's going to work, because maybe a customer is really looking for a very particular feature that you do not have right now. But again, go ask them why, concentrate on the positives. And if you feel that that's something that could be added, on a roadmap, talking to your DevOps team, you can circle back down the road, and say, well, you guys don't have this feature, don't have this. It's very important for us to have this. Or maybe, we got to go somewhere else. Try to come back to them when you feel like it could be maybe added down the road to the roadmap. And it's a great way to circle back with some value rather than I'm just following up. And it shows that you listen and that you care. Okay, great question. Any other questions from our audience? It seems like we are coming to the top of the hour. And we're going to finish up with some other follow-up tactics. You want to follow up with email initially. Now, that's what we're going to do with Recrooit. With a phone call, it gets a little tricky. People in US expect that you're going to do most of the business via email, but it's not a strange thing if you follow up with a phone call. I would typically send an email, and then either myself or some of our biz dev on the cybersecurity side would follow up with a phone call and say, hey, we sent that email. We just wanted to make sure you got it, and then also provide some value. But typically, you do want to follow up with an email initially. Right now with LinkedIn, people are used to use LinkedIn in US for business. You can also follow up with LinkedIn. But with email, especially if you're sending a link, freemium, potentially, Nev, we're probably going to look into send some slides. Email is probably the best way to do that first initial follow-up. Okay, so we also want to, I hate when, I'm using the word hate, but let's take with hate. I do hate when somebody follows up with me. I'm always taking sales calls. I'm trying to learn some other sales tactics. Some sales tactics in US are good, but some are still very standard, very old school. When somebody just follows, like, hey, I'm just following up on that call, that's not really enticing for me to answer. But when somebody says like, hey, Alex, I'm following up on call, and by the way, I did see that there was a latest cybersecurity attack, or you mentioned during our call that this thing is important to you. I just want to make sure that you understand that we do have that. When I see that they put a little bit of time, that there is an additional value, and it's not just I'm following up for the sake of follow-up because I got nothing else to do and I'm trying to close the deal. That's not good enough. Every time you follow up, try to add additional value to the follow-up. Okay? And then the big one, you have to stay patient and consistent, right? Being patient and consistent and active is the key. Being patient and just not doing anything, obviously nothing is going to happen. But you have to understand in US, every potential, and we are obviously talking about the US market, European market, and the regional markets are obviously different. But I can tell you, all US targets, all US potential clients, they're getting bombarded with other SaaS companies, especially other services companies. It's very competitive. If you're a services company, I had a chance to do a presentation in Niche, and I had a great conversation with the solution developers there. Shout for NICAT and Goran doing some amazing things in Niche. But I had to explain to people that if you're building a solution software developer, you got to understand that there's so much competition. So any potential US client, they're getting bombarded from, other countries in Europe, but right now South America is also very active in US with IT. So you have to be patient, you have to be unique, you have to keep providing value proposition, you have to be consistent. Don't give up just because, well, I followed up 2 times. They're not interested. You have to be consistent, guys. And it's a numbers game. More consistency. Understand now it's holidays. Always follow up. Nev, that's another thing. We want to follow up with Ricardo and wish him happy holidays. But you have to be persistent, patient, and consistent. Very important, whether you're selling services or whether you're selling SaaS product. I can tell you a million stories where, even though I'm in US and I know the people and decision makers, it took me, sometimes a whole year, because we provide services, but it took me a whole year before they actually did something, right? And they never said no, and they were always positive meetings, but it takes time. Okay, we do have more questions. Excellent. So we're going a little bit over, but that's fine because we got some good questions. So we got Goran Cirkovic. How about a personalized demo for each specific client, or just to demo general presentation? Nev, I think you have an answer for this.
Yeah, I actually used Loom to film personalized demos, and I use it in my cold outreach. I would say this worked well for me. But obviously, if you're gonna, it depends on the product. If you're facing B2B, the sales cycle is longer, and you're gonna have to jump on a call with your prospect, and then eventually you're gonna personalize the demo anyways, right? So I would say I would rather go for a personalized demo, and then obviously just for the content's sake, and because you want to automate parts of your software, especially if you're building SaaS, I would say having a demo publicly available is just beneficial for those. Hey, I want to post a job. Okay, sure. Here's how to do it. So, yeah.
So that's a great answer. And also to Goran, a fantastic question. I do feel that with your general demo slide deck, you should alter maybe 1 or 2. You should have your framework. Okay, these ones are not changing. About us, our stack, obviously if it's a SaaS product, but there should be 1 or 2 that change based on the industry and based on the persona, right? So in this case, we had a Recrooit, and Nev, I believe that we said like maybe we could have 1 slide, and that's one of the feedbacks that Ricardo said, like maybe another slide that's really pertaining to that industry. Again, it's not scalable to change completely the demo deck or the demo environment for that persona, but you should know, okay, this is my standard slides, right? But here a couple that I change based on the persona and exactly the industry. That shows the client that you're not, Americans hate, we all hate just like somebody's going through the motions and you're like, okay, they do this demo over and over, same way. Nobody wants that. They want to see like, okay, this person thought about me. They thought about my role. They thought about my industry. They get my attention. Just that shows a sign of respect, but it also shows like, okay, they want to understand where's my pain point. So Goran, great question. The answer is absolutely. Work on changing maybe 1 or 2 slides based on the industry, based on a vertical, and based on that buying persona, whether it's a COO, HR, or something. Try to figure out some data, try to figure out some pain point. It could be a great slide for you. Say, hey, you're an HR person, you're looking for the HR software. We have an HR software. Here's a slide that we pinpoint some of the pain points that we heard from the previous customers, but we want to hear it from you. Are we missing something here? It could be a great slide to have a conversation. Now, we could have done the same thing. Ricardo, when people recruit in cybersecurity, here's like 2 or 3 pain points that we heard, but tell it, is this consistent with what you see, or would you like to add more? He would say like, you know what, that's great. I would add this, 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 and that. It's a great way to engage and have a live discussion. And again, to ask questions and to uncover those pain points. So good one, Goran. Hopefully that answers. We do have another questions. Questions are coming. I guess people don't want to go to drink hot rakia, lucha rakia. They want to talk to us, Nev. You know, they're all interested in the US sales. So that's a good thing. Okay, we got Eva. She's asking when to stop following up if the potential client is unresponsive. That's a great question because I'm asking that question too. What do you think, Nev? I have some thoughts about it.
Well, initially I said never, but that's not true. I would say that I follow up to, depending on the lead, up to 5 or 7 times. So that's
a good one.
Like, yeah,
that's a good one. So I'll give you guys another breakdown how US companies do it. And in US, obviously, sales is everything, and it's so hard to find the leads. The only way you stop following the lead is when they say, we're going to sue you, and do not follow up again. But even then, you follow up in a year because maybe things changed, right? Maybe you caught them at the bad day. Maybe the management changed, their needs changed. So this is what you want to do. You want to split the leads in 3 levels. Immediate. That's somebody like, I need you like yesterday. We need to hire a cybersecurity person. We need to backfill this position by the end of the year. So that's immediate. You're super okay to follow up like daily because they need it yesterday, right? At least weekly. So that's an immediate. That's a super hot lead. There is a medium one, intermediate. Yeah, we need it, but maybe we should wait till after the year. Let me check something. They didn't say no, but they didn't say like, yeah, I need you yesterday. It's something intermediate. At that point, you want to follow up maybe every couple of weeks. Again, you follow up with the value. When they say they're I'm not really interested now, we call it nurture. You want to put them in some kind of nurture mode. What does that mean? You follow up once a quarter. Wish them a happy holiday.
Just a question. Like, are you talking about warm or cold leads?
Even the cold. So this is the coldest one. Let's say the nurture, right? So the question is, when do you stop? My question is, Eva, you never stop unless they say stop, because you don't know, like that person is not responding. Maybe they went through something. Maybe at that point they were not interested. Maybe they didn't have the budget, right? They didn't have time to respond. But you follow up in 24. They're like, okay, wow, we actually need this. Things change, the management changed, the need, the compliance, the market changed. So unless, again, this is how I see it, unless they say, do not send me another email, put me on your do not call list, put me on your do not send list, they're still a lead. At the very least, they're a nurture lead. What does that mean? Put them in, ask for permission. If you didn't ask them for permission to put them in a newsletter, at the very least, follow up, wish them a happy holiday. Once or twice a year, at the very least. We try to follow up like once a quarter. If they're not interested, at least once a quarter. We're trying to tell them on the cybersecurity side, here's the latest cybersecurity attack. Here's some of the best practices. We're trying to provide value. You want to automate that as much as you can. Obviously, you want to concentrate on those hot leads that are giving you the best chance to close revenue. But those leads are important. That's data. And I promise you, if you have 100 leads that stop talking to you and you put them in some kind of newsletter and you follow up once a quarter, out of those hundreds, it's a numbers game. You will get few that change their mind. You know what? We didn't talk to you last year. Really sorry. You know, we had a lot going on with the company, merger, acquisition, restructuring. We actually do need, can we set up another demo? It's going to happen, but you want to automate, right? You do not want to spend too much time, but again, you want to put them in some kind of, nurture mode, as we call it. Again, this is a little bit aggressive. This is a little bit American way. This is a little bit aggressive maybe, but what do you think, Nev?
Yeah, well, don't do it in the local market. We're talking about the US, and they're used to being
bombarded.
Yeah, in the local market, you can really hurt your reputation. So yeah.
And I'll finish with one more interesting thought. So, and you got to understand, Eva and the audience, we all go through that pain. Again, you could be the best salesperson in US. You could be Jessica Smith from, a New York, a killer salesperson, the best. She's going to run into this same problem. And you know what they do? I was watching the video recently, and I received some of those emails. When people don't respond for 5-6 times, right, in a row, right now in US, what they're doing, and they're very comfortable with that, they go with a little bit of a funny email. And Alex, just following last time, I want to make sure you're not abducted by aliens, or maybe moved to Jamaica drinking a cocktail, or maybe became a big rock star. We don't know what happened to you, but we would just like to hear from you last time. And this is a very new thing. I can tell I've been in sales for 10 plus years. Like for the last few years, I've been seeing those a lot, like a last ditch of effort.
It also depends on your ICP. So not everything, it doesn't work everywhere. Yeah.
Doesn't work. It's a very local thing. It's a very US thing, but I've seen people sending these, and I've seen some videos, instructional videos saying like, do that, and you see what happens. And you're very well within the legal terms, ethical terms, right? You're just trying to be a little bit funny. I know it could be very uncomfortable maybe for some people, but I haven't tried it yet, but I'm thinking about trying for some of mine that we haven't heard for in a while. I'll instruct my team. Think outside the box a little bit. And this is almost like there's no box. Okay. We do have one more question. Actually, we have a couple more. So Nikola Petic, do you have any recommendation on learning materials or books to improve sales skills? Okay, that's a great topic. There's so many out there. I would love to recommend. I would love to recommend a few videos. Actually, there's a lot of books out there, but right now the names escape me. But I do follow a few people online that are actually master salespeople. So I would be more than happy to work with Startit to put those links. But yeah, it's really not that hard to find really good sales books or sales training. Sandgren is a really big sales training in US. But like I said, right now, there's a lot of very interesting videos, very interesting personas. I think people are moving a little bit away from the books, but going into the videos and learning from, people like Grant Cardone or, Tony Robbins and those kind of people when it comes to sales. Great question. Yeah, we'll try in 24 to address some of those and point out what are some of those resources where you can find those. Great question, Nikola. I think Goran has another question. Goran Chirkovic is coming back for more. What is better, a one-time payment or monthly subscription-based payment? Okay, so this is a loaded, as we say, loaded general question. Depends. I would always go for the recurring monthly subscription. That's always something that's more sought after. When it comes to SaaS and when it comes to even services, you're trying to figure out if there's a way to have a recurring revenue that always adds more value to the company and it drives stickiness with the client. one-time payment, obviously, it could work if it's a major enterprise deal, and that's just the way you're going to do it. But if you can figure out the monthly subscription-based payment, recurring revenue, that will be the best. I mean, Nev, do you even have on a SaaS side one-time payment?
Yeah, they're obviously, and they're kind of popular at the moment because there is a lot of talk of users being tired of all of the subscriptions. But again, it depends on the product pretty much. And from business perspective, I think monthly subscriptions in general are way better for just, like tracking your revenue.
Yeah, it definitely adds value. And if you can steer your customers towards monthly recurring revenue, obviously when it's SaaS, it's kind of nature of the beast. But if you can figure out you also services, even though we do, my company does pen tests, and it's kind of like a one-time thing, we always try to figure out how to do recurring services and provide like a 3-year contracts. It drives stickiness. If you can find a way to do subscription or recurring revenue, please do that. It's going to add value. It's going to add more value to your company. It's going to add more value to the client, and it will drive what we call stickiness and less churn rate. You want that client to keep coming back. If it's a one-time deal, there's always a chance they're going to go somewhere else. What happens after that deal? You're hoping they will come back, but you don't have any mechanisms or financial mechanisms to keep them coming back. Okay. These are some really good questions. We went 16 minutes over, so let's give everybody maybe like 10 seconds and see if there's any other questions to finish up. But if not, we definitely want to thank you. Nev, where can they find you?
I'm most active on Twitter these days, but you can obviously reach out to me on LinkedIn as well. Here's my email. So yeah, I'd love to get in touch with anyone, and I look forward to your feedback.
Absolutely. We definitely need your feedback. You guys can find me on LinkedIn. I think I'm the only Alex Paunik or Paunic. And then you can shoot me an email at official Precog Security email, or you can find me on Instagram if you're active there. But with that being said, we do have one more slide, and we definitely want to, I don't know how many people are still sticking around, but Nev, what are we going to do now?
Yeah, are we going to do it? Yeah.
We have to do it. So
right.
I got my 2024 here. Yeah, we have a deal. So people are like, what is this people doing, right? So I got my Santa hat, and you got your...
I have my bells, yeah.
Yes, you got a reindeer hat. So this series is always done in English, but we definitely want to wish in Serbian srećne praznike I srećnu novu godinu svima. Hvala što ste bili sa nama kroz ovaj ceo series i želimo da vas vidimo 24. Nev?
Srećni praznici svima. Happy holidays to everyone. And once again, if you get a chance to participate in 2024 in this, I encourage you to do so. I've learned so much. Alex, thank you. You definitely made me a better salesman and saleswoman. And I hope I'm going to be able to sell like an American from here on.
We all do. Well, thank you, everyone. Hvala svima, and thank you for sticking around. And with that being said, we are going to close this event. Have a great, safe holiday, and Happy New Year again.
Happy New Year.